logging at the debug level. Got my point? Got my point? We are going to perform logging level at the debug. I want to print all the debug level messages. I want to perform logging at the debug level. And I want to specify file appender. I want to specify file appender. How can I specify file appender? Logging dot file dot name is equal to apps.log or myapp.log. Then it is going to store the log messages to file also. You don't need to add any dependency in the Spring Boot. We no need to add any dependency. We no need to add any dependency in the Spring Boot related to logging. Why? Because Spring Boot already coming up with the logging. Spring Boot internally using the logging. You no need to add any additional dependency to perform the logging here. The default log level is info. The default appender is console. We can customize logging configuration in Spring Boot using application.properties file. Logging.level.root is equal to debug. Logging.file.name is equal to myapp.log. Are you guys able to follow this? Are you guys able to follow this? Default log level is info. Default appender is console appender. If you want to customize the levels, you can specify logging.level.root is equal to debug. Logging.file.name is equal to myapp.log. Good, fine guys. Now here, if you observe, here our application will be available. Our application is available here. Our application is running. Now, whenever our application is executing, log messages will be generated. Whenever our application is running, log messages will be generated like this. Application will be writing log messages to log file. Application will be writing log messages to log file. Based on the log level configured, log messages will be generated. So, based on log messages will be stored to log file. Based on log level, log messages will be stored to log file. From current level to all the higher levels will be printed. From current log level to all higher log level messages will be stored to log file. If any exception occur in the application, then we can check the log file. We can check the log messages to understand the problem. If any functionality not working, or if any exception occurred in the project, if any functionality not working, or if any exception occurred in the project, then we can check log messages. We can check log messages available in log file to understand the problem. Are you guys getting my point? Why we are using this logging is, my application will be executing, so many people will be accessing my application. So when the application is executing, there is a chance of getting some problems. When my application is executing, there is a chance of getting some problems. Whenever the problem occurs, we need to figure out that problem. So how can I figure out the problem? Server is running in some other location. Server is available in USA. I am in Hyderabad. My server is running in USA. I am in Hyderabad. So how can I understand what is the problem in my application? That's the reason we will implement logging in the project. When my application is executing, log messages will be generated. The log messages will be stored to log file. When some functionality is not working, or if any exception occurs in the project, then directly I will go to this log file and I will open the log file and I will see the log messages. By seeing the log messages, we can understand what is the problem in the project. What is the problem in the project? Are you guys clear with my point? Are you guys clear with my point? Yes. Now, next thing is, if we store all the log messages to single file, it will become a big problem. If we use single log file to store log messages, then it will become problem. It will become problem because daily log messages will be generated. Daily log messages will be generated and file size will be keep on increasing. File size will be keep on increasing. If we use single log file to store the log messages, then it will become problem because daily log messages will be generated and file size will be keep on increasing. So to overcome this problem, we will use rolling policy in the logging. To overcome this problem, we will use rolling policy in logging. Can you guys check in the internet what is rolling policy in the logging? Can you guys check in the internet what is rolling policy in the logging? Can you tell me what is rolling policy in the logging? Right, guys. I will wait for 2 minutes. You do the analysis and tell me what is rolling policy in the logging. I will wait for 2 minutes. guys, are you able to understand what is ruling policy in the logging? What is ruling policy in the logging? Come on, did you get any idea? What is ruling policy in the logging? Alright, so now if I deploy my application to the server, people will be accessing my application and my application will be generating the log messages. If I store all the log messages to single log file, the file size is going to increase. If I store all the log messages to single file, then the file size will become increased. Now think about Facebook. How many people will be using Facebook in a day? How many people will be using Facebook in a day? So many people will be using Facebook in a day. So many log messages will be generated to the log file. Facebook application will have a logging and so many log messages will be generated by Facebook application. Those log messages will be stored into log file. Those log messages will be stored into log file. Got it? Now think about the size of the log file after 1 month, after 1 year, after 2 years. Facebook is running from 10 years. Do you think that from 10 years they will store all the log messages to single log file? From 10 years Facebook application is running. Do you think that from 10 years the Facebook logs are storing to single log file? Is it recommended or it is not recommended? It is not at all recommended. Now let's take one example. Now we are using SBI net banking. SBI application is available. SBI internet application is available. For SBI application, we have implemented logging. For SBI application also we have implemented logging. Okay, log file is there for SBI application. Log messages are generating. Log file. In that log file, log messages will be generated. Daily, so many people will be using SBI application for banking operations. Daily, so many people will be using SBI application to perform banking operations. When application is executing, log messages will be generated in the log file. When application is executing, log messages will be generated in log file. Every day, every hour, every minute, people are using this application. Daily, so many people will be using SBI application to perform banking operations. When application is executing log messages, application log messages will be generated in the log file. If we are storing messages to single log file, if we are storing log messages to single file, after 1 year, what would be the size of log file? What would be the size of the log file? It will be in the GBs or it will go to TBs. It will be in the TBs or it will be in the GBs. MBs, GBs will be available or it will go to terabytes. Come on, for 1 year, Can I use single log file for 1 year? Can I use a single log file for 1 year? Come on, guys. Same thing, Facebook. Same thing applicable for Facebook. Note. Think about Facebook application usage. Think about how many users will be using Facebook. Think about how many users will be using Facebook application. How many users will be using Facebook application and how many log messages will be generated in log file. Will be generated in log file. Okay. If we store all these log messages to single file, it would be very difficult. Storing all the log messages to single log file is not at all recommended. Storing log messages into single log file. Storing log messages into single log file is not at all recommended. Storing log messages into single log file is not at all recommended because every day, every hour, every minute, every second, people will be using application. People will be using our web applications and logs will be generated. Logs will be generated. So to overcome this problem, we will use rolling policy in the logging. What is that, guys? To overcome this problem, we will use rolling policy in the logging. What is that, guys? Rolling policy in the logging. To overcome this problem, we will be using rolling policy in the logging. Are you clear with this one? We can implement rolling policy in two ways. We will implement rolling policy in two ways. We can implement rolling policy in two ways. We can implement rolling policy in two ways. One is size-based rolling. Second one is time-based rolling. One is size-based rolling, second one is size-based rolling, and second one is time-based rolling. Size-based rolling means we will configure the size. Once the log file reaches to that size, new log file will be created. Size-based rolling means we will configure some size for log file. Once log file reaches to that size, it will create new log file. How beautiful it is. I will tell 100 MB or 1 GB. I will tell 1 GB. So 1 GB data will be stored to one file. 1 GB data will be stored to one file. Once 1 GB data completed, once the file reaches to 1 GB, then it will create the new file. That is called rolling, logging. Log files will be rolled. New log file will be created. Are you guys able to understand? For every application, logging is mandatory, guys. Without implementing the logging, we don't develop any project. Without implementing the logging, we don't develop any project. Definitely we have to implement logging for our application. Definitely we have to implement logging for our application. Are you guys able to follow me? Definitely we have to implement logging for our application. So application having a logging, that means whenever the application is executing, log messages will be generated. Those log messages will be stored to log file. Those log messages will be generated and they will be stored to log file. Those log messages will be stored to log file. From current log level to all the higher level logs will be generated. Let's take an example of SBI application. Every day people will be using SBI application. So many logs will be generated. Those logs will be stored to log file. After 1 year, what would be the size of my log file? After 2 years, what would be the size of my log file? SBI application running from 10 years. Do you think that from 10 years the logs will be available in the same log file? Do you think that from 10 years they are using this one log file only to store the log messages? It's very difficult. The file size will reach to TBs. It's not recommended. So that's why now we are taking SBI. SBI is only using by Indians. SBI application, State Bank of India, only for Indians. Okay. Now let's think about worldwide applications like LinkedIn, Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. How many people will be using those applications, guys? How many people will be using Instagram? How many people will be using Instagram? So many. How many people will be using Instagram? So many people will be using Instagram. So many people will be using Instagram. So now billions of people will be using Instagram. How many logs will be generated every day? TBs of data. Can you get single log file to store everyday log files, log messages? No. Same thing in the real time also, whenever we develop our application, so many people will be accessing our application. We should not keep single log file for storing the log messages. We should not keep single log file to store the messages. So that's the reason we will go for rolling policy. How many ways we can implement rolling policy? 2 ways. What are the 2 ways? One is size-based rolling and the second one is time-based rolling. First one is size-based rolling. Second one is time-based rolling. Example, if we configure 1 GB, example, if we configure size as 1 GB, if we configure size as 1 GB, once 1 GB data stored in log file, it will create new log file. Guys, tell me all this information is optional for a developer or it's mandatory that every developer should know these details? Whatever I am discussing, all these things are optional or it's mandatory. These are damn sure interview questions. If you don't answer these questions, they will consider you are a fake experienced guy. If you don't answer these questions, they will consider you as a fake experienced guy. Are you able to follow this? Are you able to follow this? If you don't answer these questions, they will consider you as a fake experienced guy. Understand? These all are very, very, very important to know to work in the real time. These all are very, very important to know to work in the real time. Samjhe? Good. Size-based rolling means we will configure some size for the log file. Once the log file reaches to that size, it will create new log file. Example, if we configure size as 1 GB, once 1 GB data stored in log file, it will create a new log file. Time-based rolling means every day it will generate a new log file to store the log messages. Time-based rolling means every day new log file will be generated to store the day log messages. To store the day log messages. Time-based rolling means every day new log file will be generated to store the day log messages. Is this concept applicable only for Java or for all the programming languages, all the projects will use any technology? If you go for .NET people will use logging or .NET people will not use logging? Guys, come on. .NET people will use logging. .NET people will not use logging. .NET people will use logging. .NET people will not use logging. .NET people also will use the logging. .NET people also will use the logging because for .NET application also logging is required. When you go for Python application, do we need the logging for the Python? Do we need logging for the Python? Yes, We need logging for the Python. We need logging for the Python. Irrespective of the programming languages, we need to implement logging, because without logging, managing our application will be very difficult. Without logging, managing our application will become very difficult. Only logging is sufficient, or logging with rolling is required? Only logging is sufficient, logging with rolling is required. Logging with rolling is required. Logging with rolling is required. How many ways we can roll the logging? How many ways we can roll the log files? Two ways. One is size-based rolling. Second one is time-based rolling. Size-based rolling means we will configure some size for log file, like 1 GB. 1 GB. That means once the log file contains 1 GB data, then it will be creating the new log file. Then it is going to create the new log file. If you go for time-based rolling, every day new log file will be created to store the log messages. Every day new log file will be created to store the log messages. Are you guys able to follow me? Are you guys able to follow me? Are you guys able to follow me? Come on, guys. Can you hear my voice? Can you hear my voice? Come on. Yes, good, good. In the project, they will decide, sir, our project architects will decide what type of rolling policy that we need to follow. In my project, we are using size-based rolling. We are keeping 1 GB size. So once my file reaches to 1 GB, then new log file will be created. That is what the implementation we are doing in my current project. Okay, now let's look at this. Let's look at this. What is that? Rolling. Rolling policy in logging. Rolling policy in the logging. Okay. What is rolling? Rolling logs on file size and time. Log back rolling file appender. Log back rolling file appender. How we need to roll the log files by using rolling file appender. Configuring rolling file appender. How we can configure rolling file appender? So here we are going to use logback as the default log implementation in the Spring Boot. Logback is the default implementation for the logging. So here they have given logback.xml. Using this logback.xml, we can configure time-based rolling policy. Time-based rolling policy here given here. Next one is fixed window rolling policy. 1 KB size, max file size they have given. 1 KB of size they have given. So if you configure this 1 KB of size, then it is going to create the new log file every day. Okay, size and time-based rolling we can configure. We can configure both also, and we can configure single thing also. Now here there is the URL logback rolling file appender. What is the meaning of rolling file? When you use file appender, the event messages are constantly appended to end of the log file. Okay. When we are doing the logging, the file appender, if you use only file appender, the event messages are constantly appended to end of the log file. The size of the log messages increase gradually. So by applying rolling file appender, the regular log file are splitted up into many based on a particular schedule, such as daily, weekly, monthly. Assume that we configure by daily, the log files are going to be created like this. With every date, log file will be created. 430, 51, 52, 53. Like this, you are going to configure rolling file appender. If you want to implement rolling policy, then we should use rolling file appender. Currently in our application, what is happening, guys? Do we have a rolling, or it is going to store to the single log file? Do we have a rolling, or it is storing to the single log file now in my current project? Whatever the current project is available here, it is going to store to the single log file. Single log file. Got it? Now, here, if you go for single log file, then it would become very difficult to manage. So that's why in the real time, we are going to configure rolling file appender. Rolling we can do in two ways. Now, rolling file appender we can configure in two ways. By using size based, by using time based. Okay. Now, implementation. How we can configure that time based rolling policy example? Here we are going to configure one appender. What is the name of the appender? Rolling file appender. Rolling file appender. What is the rolling policy they are configuring? Time based rolling policy. Time based rolling policy we are going to configure. Time based rolling policy we are configuring. What is the meaning of time based rolling? Every day new log file will be created. Every day new log file will be created. Now, this is our Java application which is used to write the log messages. So now here it is going to create the log files like this. It is going to create the log file like this. They have configured here time-based rolling policy, rolling file appender. File should be created in this location. Time-based rolling policy, file name pattern. They want to create the time-based log file .d. That means the time they want to print. Max history 30 files they want to keep maximum. Encoder pattern, relative thread information that should be printed. Time-based rolling. Now, the date time conversion specifier percentage %d. Every file should be created with the date. Okay. Now here the above conversion is a date pattern. So the rollover period is minutely because the smallest date unit is minute in this pattern. And please note that the rollover period is inferred from the value of file name pattern. This is the main method which they are using to generate the log messages. So they are writing some loop and they are keeping the thread in the sleep mode for 10,000 milliseconds. Then log files will be created. The Java code for loop executes for 24 times. 24 is the loop counter they kept. Each step thread sleeps for 10 seconds. So the total execution time of the for loop is about 4 minutes. This loop is going to execute for 4 minutes. According to the minutely rollover configuration, we expect 4 log files to be generated. According to the minutely configuration, this log file is going to generate 4 log files in the 4 minutes. They configure every minute log file should be generated. Are you guys able to understand what is this configuration that they are doing? So this is logback XML configuration to configure rolling policy. Where these log messages will be generated? Here they have created one file now. This is the first file it is going to create. After 1 minute, second file will be created with the date. After 1 minute, third file will be created. After 1 minute, fourth file will be created. For every minute, the log file is going to be created. Are you guys able to understand? Are you guys able to understand? This is time-based rolling. Next one, size-based rolling, guys. Size-based rolling. Now, so what is this they have given here? Appender. What is the appender name? Rolling file appender. What is the appender? Rolling file appender. In the rolling file appender, what is the rolling policy? Can you say fixed window rolling policy? Can we say fixed window rolling policy? They have given for us. Can we say fixed window rolling policy they have given? Can we say fixed rolling policy that they have given? Yes, they are giving fixed window rolling policy. Now, fixed window rolling policy. So this is the file name pattern. Trigger policy, size based trigger. How much size they are using? How much size they are using here for testing purpose? 1 KB. How much size they are using here? It's 1 KB. So what will happen? Log file will be created. Here they are using loop for 100 times. They are doing a loop for 100 times. After 100 logs, writing events, we see that 7 RQD files are produced. So 7 log files are produced. Now what is the reason? 1 KB data is storing. After 1 KB data is stored to the file, new log file will be generated. After 1 KB data is stored, then new log file will be generated. Are you guys able to follow this? Are you guys able to follow this? After 1 KB data is stored, new log file will be generated. Is this clear? Is this clear? So, sized and time-based rolling policies that we can configure. We can configure. Now, size-based policy we can configure. Time-based rolling policy also we can configure. We can configure mix also. Size and time both I can mix it. Size and time-based rolling example. We have already illustrated the time-based and size-based rolling in the log back. It is possible to mix them with the sub-component of time-based rolling policy called size and time-based rolling policy. The rollover occurs when the active log file reaches the maximum file size before end of the time period. Now, I'm going to configure both. Daily, I want to create the log file with 1 GB. In the same day, if the file reaches to 1 GB, then new file will be created. So you can configure mix also. You can go for only rolling based on the size, only rolling based on the time, and you can configure both mix also. Time-based rolling and size-based rolling mix also you can configure. Are you guys able to follow this? How can we configure both? Are you guys able to understand how can we configure both? What is the scenario to go for both? What is the scenario to go for both? Come on. What is the scenario to go for both? Yes. I want size-based. I want time-based. I want time-based. When I go for time-based policy, I will configure a particular size also. In the particular day, my file reaches to the given size. Then I want to create the new log file. I can configure mix also. Okay. Sir, how can we configure these details? Guys, in order to configure these details, we are going to use one concept called logback.xml. What is these things, guys? Logback.xml. We will configure these rolling policies by using logback.xml in the Spring Boot application. We will configure these rolling policies. We'll configure these rolling policies using logback.xml file. Keep the logback.xml file in SRC main resources folder. Keep logback.xml file under src/main/resources folder. Keep the logback.xml file under src main resources folder. We will configure these rolling policies using logback.xml file. Keep logback.xml file under src main resources folder. Guys, I'm keeping one file here. I will share that file with you. I'm keeping one file. I will share that file with you. src main resources. I'm keeping one logback.xml file. I'm keeping one logback.xml. Do you need to buttify this configuration? Do you need to buttify this configuration, or you can take from the internet? Come on guys. Do you need to butify whatever I am doing in this log back.xml file, or you can take this from the internet? We can take this from the internet. So this is our logback.xml. This is our logback.xml. So what is the thing that I configured here? Size and time based rolling. Maximum file size is 1 MB. Maxi history 30. Total size cap 10 MB. Cleaning history on start is equal to true. Now here, can you tell me what policy I have configured? Can you tell me what policy I have configured? What policy I have configured? Come on guys. What policy I have configured? Is it only time based or size based, or it is a mix? It's mix. It's a mix. That means size and time based rolling. Size and time based rolling. Every day I want with 1 GB. Every day I want with 1 GB. In the same day, if it reaches 1 GB, in the same day, if it reaches to 1 GB, new file will be created. Yeah, always this is good. Every day I want to create a new file, but my limit of the file should be 1 GB. Size and time, both mix is good, sir. Mix is good. Mixed concept is good. Time and size, every day, new file with 1 GB. In the same day, if it reaches to 1 GB, new file should be created. Okay, max history 30. That means I want to keep only last 30 days log files. I want to keep only last 30 days log files. Okay, because already 1 month completed. So any issue comes in a project, same day we will rectify by looking at the log messages. So maximum history I will keep as 30. 30 log files I am going to keep maximum. Total size cap is 10 MB. Log files should occupy 10 MB of space to store it. Clean history and start. Whenever you restart the server, I want to clean the history. Like this, you can configure some additional properties also. Guys, this file I have configured from my previous project. This file I have configured, I am copied from my previous project. So this is logback.xml. Where we are going to keep the logback.xml file, we are going to keep in the resources folder. I think so many people attended Log4j workshops in other institutes. Are they explaining rolling policy? Are they explaining rolling policy for you? Because they are not working in the real time. They don't know these concepts. If a person works in the real time, definitely he will talk about rolling policy. Because without rolling policy, we don't implement logging in the real time. I'm working in the company from 9 years. I have never implemented a logging without rolling policy. Because in the real time, you imagine how many people will access our application, how many logs will be generated. What is the problem if I store the log messages to the single file? Okay. XML root element configuration. Inside the configuration, we are configuring the appender. Inside the appender, we are configuring the rolling policy. Now here appender, what is the appender I am configuring? Rolling file appender. File name I am giving as myapp.log. You can give any name for the file. Encoder pattern, that means what are the details that you want to append in the log message. %d, that means the date should be printed. Log message should contain date, thread name, log level, logger message. All the information should be printed. Logger is nothing but it's a class name. Message should be printed. %n nothing but new line. %d means date. %thread means thread name. %level means on which level this message is printing. % logger means which class message is printing. What is the message, and go to new line. This is the layout, guys. Pattern of the log message. What pattern you want to use for printing a log message? What information you want to print in the log message? Date, thread name, level, class name, log message, and a new line. This is called pattern. Now I'm taking a appender and file name, encoder pattern, rolling policy. Rolling policy is size and time based rolling policy. So file name pattern, once when the new file is creating, I want the new file name to be created with the date. I want the new file name should be created with the date. What is the root level I am configuring here? What is the root level I am configuring? What is the root level I am configuring? Info. So this is logback.xml file. This is the logback.xml file configuration. I have just copied this file from the internet, guys, and I used it in the previous project also. I'm giving you this file. I will share this file in our Telegram group also. You can use the same file in the project for testing purpose. Keep this file in SRC main resources folder. What is the name of the file? File name is logback.xml. Logback.xml. This is the name of the file. We need to keep this file in our SRC folder. Spring Boot will use logback as the default implementation for logging. Spring Boot will use logback as the default implementation for the logging. Okay, file name pattern, max file size. I want the file size to be 1 GB maximum. Okay, max history 30. That means I want to keep only 30 histories. 30 previous 30 files only should be available. When the 31 file is created, old file will be deleted. That is max file size. How many old files you want to keep? How many old files you want to keep? That is the max history. Okay. Fine. Can you guys practice rolling policy? Can you guys practice rolling policy? You don't need to configure anything. You don't need to configure anything in the properties file. When you have logback.xml, you remove all these things. Nothing is there in my application or properties file because I have configured everything in the logback.xml. I have configured everything in the logback.xml. I'm not configuring in the properties file. Okay. Logback is the default implementation for logging in the Spring Boot. Logback is the default implementation for logging in the Spring Boot. Perfect. Okay. In the servers, we'll use the info level only. With the info level, if you are not able to figure out the issue, then we will go for debug level. Generally, it will be available as a info level. Generally, we'll keep it as a info level. If we are unable to figure out the issue with the info, then we will go for the debug level. Okay. Fine. Guys, we are having freshers interview. The people who knows Java, Spring Boot, we have interviews. Please come to our institute tomorrow to book your interview slot. So these interviews are for product-based company. These interviews are for product-based companies. Anybody who is available in Hyderabad, you can visit our institute tomorrow to participate in the interview drive. to participate in the interview drive, please visit our institute tomorrow. Are you clear with this? Tomorrow we have openings for Java freshers. That is a Hyderabad-based, product-based company. Hyderabad location, product-based company. Any pass out year, that's not a problem. You should have completed your core Java, advanced Java, Spring Boot trainings. Spring. If you're good in the core Java, advanced Java, and Spring, then you are eligible for that interview. You can come for the institute tomorrow. You can come to the institute tomorrow to participate in the interview. Morning 10 a.m. you can come to the institute. Tomorrow we will note down your details. Then Friday will be the actual interview. Tomorrow you have to come and you have to register your details so that Friday company is coming to conduct the interviews. People who want to participate in the interview, they should visit our institute tomorrow at morning 10 a.m. Your interview slot will be fixed. Got it? Fine. Thank you guys. We'll continue tomorrow. Please practice this rolling policy before coming to tomorrow's session. Please practice this rolling policy before coming to tomorrow's session. Okay? Thank you.